Parshat Mishpatim. Okay, so I have three pieces to learn with you. The first two are from Kanfei Yonah, which is my sefer on the Parsha in Hebrew. So I took out two pieces from there, which I think not because of my sefer, but the sources I'm quoting are excellent. Okay, so we're gonna see some very nice stuff. Now, one of them we actually, from a different perspective, went through a couple of years ago. Some of you might remember, some of you might not. I didn't, but Malka remembered. So afterwards, okay. So Luchot HaBrit. We're going to talk about. Let's see. Vayikach Moshe Chatzi Hadam. This is at the end of the parsha in Shvi. You have a bris that's taking place. Vayikach Moshe Chatzi Hadam. So there was blood from korbanos, and he took the blood and half of the blood vayasem ba'agonot, and he put it in pans. V'chatzi hadam zarak al mizbeach, and half was sprinkled on the mizbeach. The other half was going to be sprinkled on Bnei Israel. So you have half of this blood sprinkled. This is the covenant between Ribono Shel Olam and Klal Yisrael. Half of the blood, like blood brothers, So that's what half of the blood to the Mizbeach, the Ribono Shel Olam, and half will come to Bnei Israel. So, Vayikach Moshe Chatzi Adam, says Rashi, Michalko, who divided it, right? Bo Malach Bo V'chalko. A Malach divided it. So the question obviously is, here, Hamedrash Shemevi Rashi L'chura Tzorach Bir. What's going on here? Madua Hayatzorach LaMalach Al Manas L'Chalek Es Adam Sheba Agonot L'Shnei Chalakim. What do you need an angel to divide the blood into half, 50-50, right? Why an angel? What's so important about it, and what's so special that you needed an angel to divide the blood? Okay. Al Manat Lahavin et Divrei HaMedrash HaMorim. In order to understand this medrash, Yesh Lahitbonein b'nekuda hamitba'eret lanu mitzurat aktiva shel luchot habrit b'Torah. The journey to understand this is going back to another pasuk, talking about the two tablets, talking about the Shnei Luchot, right? Yesh Lahitbonein b'nekuda. What is it? Hamila Luchot, the tablets, right? Lamed Vav, Chet, Vav, Taf, Nichtevet B'Ktiv Chaser is written. It's written without a letter. It's written Luchat without the second Vav. Now we pronounce it Luchot, but it's written Luchat, like it's one luach, right? Ke'ilu medubar al luach achat, as if it's talking about one luach. What's that all about, right? Nirisha B'Ktiv Chaser, when you write something like this, Yeshno remez hamalamed otanu eich lehistakel al mitzvot hanilmadot beParshat Mishpatim. There's obviously a lesson here how we have to look at the Mishpatim in the Parsha, right? We got to understand what is this? What's the significance of making the luchot from a plurality to a singularity? What's the which relates to the Torah and the mitzvahs, right? Halo heim hamitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro, right? Basically, the whole parsha of Mishpatim is bein adam l'chaveiro. It's all the civil laws, right? I think we're going to mention this, but there are more pages of Gemara written on this parsha of Mishpatim than any other parsha in the Torah. Right, you have Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basra, Sanhedrin. You have so many things, because they're dealing with civil laws, between man and man. Right, Shor Shanoga Chesapara. Your car bumped into my car. All of these laws of civil laws. That's what the parsha is about. Okay, next paragraph. So he's got two questions, right? And he's going to eventually answer the first question, why we need a malach, based on this question about the two tablets, which is really luchot, but became luchat. Ha'uvda she'aseret hadibrot nechlechu l'shnei luchot, the fact that the Ten Commandments are in two tablets, right? Einena mikarit kemuvan. It's not happenstance. It's not by accident. Kiyadua is not like the Rebbe didn't have enough room to put them on one tablet, so he put another tablet, right? That's not how it worked, right? Kiyadua shnei luchot asku b'shnei inyanim shanim. Each of the luchot was a different topic, right? Haluach harishon, the one on the right, asak b'mitzvot shebein adam l'makom. There were 5 mitzvahs between man and God, believing in Hashem, not believing in other gods, right? Ba'od al luchot hasheni, on the second luchot, hayu ktuvot hadibrot she'inyanam hu hamitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro. They were mitzvahs between man and man. So there was a definite division here of the luchot. 2 different luchot, seemingly 2 different topics, right? Nitan haya litot. A person can make a serious mistake here. V'lachshov, and to think shechaluka zu midyatseget chaluka shel shtei ramot kaviyochel shel mitzvot. That this is talking about 2 different levels of mitzvahs. 2 different levels of mitzvahs. Or sheyeshna mashmaut l'dibrot haktuvot al luach echad gam l'lo hadibrot haktuvot al luach hasheni. Or you could say that one set has importance without the other, right? You can have one or you can have the other, right? Each one is independently special, and it's independently special without the other one, right? So those are the incorrect conclusions that a person can make. B'mila acharot, in other words, hayam makom litot, you could make a mistake v'lachshov, and to think shahamitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro, that the mitzvahs between man and man, v'hamitzvot shebein adam l'makom, and the mitzvahs between man and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, heinam shnei tchumim nifradim. They're 2 different ideas, 2 separate concepts, right? Ha'omdim kol echad b'schut atzmo, and each one stands by itself, independently. Amnam, truth be told, HaTorah kotevet luchat. So in writing the 2 tablets luchat, the Torah says luchat, making it one. The 2 tablets which are really one. Ke'ilu medubar, the second column, beluach echad, as if we're talking about one luach. L'lamedo tanu, what's the message? Shelo nitan lahafrid ben hamitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro l'mitzvot shebein adam l'makom. You cannot separate Mrs. ben adam l'makom and Mrs. ben adam l'chaveiro. They go together. It's just you can't do it. Mrs. ben adam l'makom, mitzvah between man and God, is mitzvah between man and man, because man is created b'tselem Elokim. So the mitzvah between man and man is mitzvah between man and God. There's no difference. They're all together. They're the same. Luchat. That's the chiddush here, right? Next paragraph. Ma'abadam shalom mitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro. The position of the mitzvah between adam l'chaveiro. Hainu hanosei hamerkazi b'parsha Mishpatim. So in this week's parsha, so the main discussion is mitzvah between adam l'chaveiro. It's between man and man, right? Hamit yacheret b'kach shehi mit makdemet kemat lechalutin b'mitzvot elu, right? Whatever. That's all we deal with in this parsha. Machmat ribuy mitzvot hamatzui b'parsha, because there's so many mitzvahs in this parsha, right? Between man and man. Yeshnam yoter. We're right here. Yeshnam yoter dapim begemara al parsha zu me'asher al kol parsha acheret b'Torah. We said it already, right? There are more pages of Gemara on this parsha than any other parsha in the Torah. Parsha zu mehaveh gam basis chinuchi. But this parsha also is the foundation, the cornerstone of a very important educational concept. Listen to this. HaChazon Ish. The Chazon Ish chatav b'igrotav. The Chazon Ish wrote in his letters. There's a letter in Shehorim tzrichim lilmod parsha zu, that parents should learn this parsha with their children. La'omek im yaldehem, in depth with their children. Al menat lahatmia betocham, in order to ingrain in them, et hamerkaziyut shel hachukim v'hamishpatim, the laws and mitzvahs hanogiim l'chayei chevra b'torah, concerning the laws of society between man and man, right? Gisha chinuchit zu, this educational idea, asuya limnoed hatfisa, is done. Now, I mean, there's some mistakes here in the wording. I'm going to have to correct it if there's going to be a second edition, but we'll see here. There's a mistake that people make. Hamuta'it. Hanota liaches ach v'rak lemitzvot shebein adam, really lemakom, right? Religion, in most religion, all religions, it's between you. It's about you and God. It's about you and God. It's not about you and man. It's about you and God. That's what religion, right? My relationship with God. That's a mistake. And a child can grow up and think, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do that. What about how I deal with each other, how we deal with each other, right? Mashma'ut datit merkazit. That's the central theme. Me'achar v'hi mareh godel hamishkal sha'enika Torah dafka l'dinim shebein adam l'chavero. But now we see how powerful mitzvahs ben adam l'chavero is, right? This whole parsha. So, and you want to teach the child this idea. So, learn with your children Parshas Mishpatim. Learn these laws. If you damage something that belongs to your friend, you take his ball away from him and during a game, right? Something, you have to teach this to a child. This is Torah. This is Torah. Just like Shabbos is Torah, right? So, Zot Hasiba, next paragraph. This is the reason. Shahayat Tzorach b'malach. That's why you needed an angel. Al menat lachalek, to divide the blood, ba'ofen shava, equal, et hadam shenizrak al mizbeach, the blood that's going to go on the mizbeach towards Hashem, lebein hadam shehusam ba'aganot, which is going to be sprinkled on the Jewish people. Hachaluka shel hadam mitzayeg et hamitzvot shebein hadam lemakom, lebein chetzio hasheni shel hadam hamiyatzeg et mitzvot shebein hadam lachavero, the mitzvahs between man and God, mitzvahs between man and man, leheasot b'diyuk muchlat, right? It has to be perfect, right? Not 80-20, not 60-40, not 99. It has to be mamish 50-50, right? Now, you should know that in halacha is an interesting thing. In halacha, we don't necessarily have to. We can assess measurement. It doesn't have to be 100% precise. In other words, for example, you're supposed to put a mezuzah on the door. The proper place to put a mezuzah on the door is the bottom of the top third of the lintel. Lentil is what we eat in Cholt. So the lint, right? Yeah. So lintel, right? So it's not even the bottom of the top third. So what I have never seen any, but doesn't mean you have to go with a tape measure and measure. You assess. This is the bottom. Now, by the way, don't get nervous. A lot of people put it much higher, and if your mezuzah is higher, it's still kosher. As long as it's in the top third, it's fine. But ideally, it should be on the bottom of the top third. See, but you assess it. You don't have to measure it, right? A lot of times that's what we do in halacha. But here, an angel was required to do the division because it had to be with mamish precision, right? You have, by the way, in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, there is a yardstick and a foot, or I guess a meter, or whatever the centimeter, all these things, a pound, measurements, weights and measurements. They're all locked in the so if you want to know the exact measure, there is one with every measurement and every weight in the Smithsonian Institute, so that it's with precision. So you can't make, if you want to, you have to guide yourself by that. So here, this is the Luchot HaBrit, right? Lahavdil Elef Havdalos, the Smithsonian. This is it. This has to be with precision, right? Al menat lelamed, to teach shnei halakim shel haTorah ma'amet shava, that it's all the same. It's all the same. Mishpatim, and between man and man, and mitzvahs between man and God, it's all one. It's not that they're equal, they're all one. Okay? V'hakesher zeh nahag hagon Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner lomar, Rav Hutner used to say, Sha'anoshim osim ta'ud. People make a mistake. Kasher heim matzivim et sifrei halacha shel HaChavetz Chaim v'hamishnah brura b'chelik echad shel Beit HaMedrash v'es yitzuratav ha'sifrutiyot ha'oskot b'chesed lashon hara v'kedav ba'aron sifrei Musa. What's he saying? Like the Chavetz Chaim wrote two major masterpieces, right? One, he wrote a lot, but he wrote the Mishnah Brura. It's halacha. It's halacha. It's the basic halachas of Orach Chaim, of daily life, right? That's the Mishnah. See, they put that in the halacha section, and the Sefer Chavetz Chaim, which is Lashon Hara and all these other things, they put it in a Musar section, right? They have to go together. Ben Adam l'makom, Ben Adam l'chaver. The Mishnah Brura is Ben Adam l'makom, right? The Sefer Chavetz Chaim is obviously OUisrael, a book of loving every year. That's also halacha, right? They should really be together. That's what he said. Put the Chavetz Chaim form together. That's what he said. Hafradazu eina mevina klal et mahut yitzirato shel Chavetz Chaim, right? They don't understand. If you're missing the whole godless of who the Chavetz Chaim was, what he was all about. Shabikesh laharot bebirur. He wanted to teach. His lifetime was kishnei chalkei TORAH heim bale chashivut zahim. That these two dimensions, these two tablets, right, are together, right? Kamo Kain, he had something very interesting. Rav Hutner writes, Haya Omeid al Kach, he mentioned Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was the founder of the Musar movement, right? Pardon? Well, that's what we're going to say here. Very good. So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, excellent. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was the founder of the Musar movement, right? And his Hishkia Ma'amatz, Rav, he did a lot. Ma'amatz Rav, what did he do? Kadei she'anashim yavinu ki hamitzvot shebein adam l'chaveiro nimtzaim bo Torah ma shel chashiva shel mitzvot bein adam l'chaveiro. That he did a lot to elevate the importance of mitzvahs between man and man. That's what Musar is, right? He elevated them to the level of the other, right? Yom HaZikaron shel Rabbi Yisrael, as just mentioned, Chal Shelo B'Mikra, the Yurtzeit of Rabbi Yisrael, always comes out b'derech klal samuch v'nira l'kriyat Parshat Mishpatim, the week of Mishpatim. So, Ha'oseket ka'amur b'hanalat rayon zeh. So it's not by accident that his Yurtzeit is this week, right? Because his whole life was putting these two concepts together. Okay. Let's move on over the page. Okay. Now everybody knows. Now, the interesting thing is that we had the Sarah Sadibris, Maimon Har Sinai was in last week's Parsha in Yisro, right? But in Mishpatim at the end, and was also a discussion of Moshe going up. And the Torah is not written in order, right? That's what the Rishonim tell us. It's not necessarily in order, right? But you have Moshe going up, a repeat of Moshe going up, and said in this week's Parsha too, right? And in this week's Parsha, we have that Bnei Yisrael said Nasev and Ishma, right? We'll do, right? And we'll do the Torah, and we'll learn the Torah. We'll listen. We'll do it, and we'll learn. So, and when Bnei Yisrael said Nasev and Ishma, 2 crowns were put on it. Malachim came down, and they put 2 crowns on every Jew's head, one for Naseh and one for Nishma, right? 2 stars on everybody's fridge for those 2 things, right? That we all said it, right? But there's another medrash, right? Now, by the way, did this really happen? I don't know if it happened. It's a metaphor, right? It's a metaphor, right? You don't have to say that it actually happened, but it could have happened, right? Maybe that one of the malachim was the malach who did the measuring. Could be the same malach, right? But Baal HaBeis HaLevi, the Beis HaLevi, Rav Yosef Dov HaLevi Soloveitchik was the great grandfather of Rabbi Soloveitchik, his namesake, right, from our generation. Maybe Medrash Nosaf. He brings another Medrash. Hamevi Biur Shoneh, very different, a little bit, he says, different. Mizeh Shemona Gemara, which the Medrash in the Gemara, which I just quoted you. Here's the Medrash. Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana. Rabbi Abba Bar Kahana said, Kisha Amdu Yisrael al Har Sinai, when we were standing by Har Sinai, Va'amru kol asher diber Hashem, everything Hashem says, naaseh v'nishma, we will do and we will keep. Miyad chivavan HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'shalach lekol echad ve'echad mehen. So he embraced us, and he sent to every single Jew shnei malachim, two malachim, v'ya echad choger lo Zayano. One of them tied a sword around his belt, gave him a sword. Ve'echad nitan lo atara b'rosho, and the other malach gave him a crown on his head. Medrash Tanchuma. Okay, different medrash, not two crowns for Nasa v'nishma, but one, a crown and a weapon, a sword. Okay, what's this all about? B'makom sheni, in b'makom shnei haktarim aniskarim b'gemara, instead of the two crowns that were mentioned, hamedrash misaper lanu al keter v'cherev, a crown and a sword. Shehaniko amalachim l'chlal Yisrael, which they gave over to us, right? Ella, sheyesh lavin, we have to understand. Ma misamelet hacherev. What is the idea of the sword? Ve'eze musar shonehi ba, eze meser shoneh, eze meser shonehi ba levatei biyachas leketer. What is the as opposed to the crown? What's the message? What's the lesson of the sword? Okay. Habesa Levi Mivayer, as Direi HaMedrash, halalu, be'emtzaut she'la nosefet. He explains the question by asking another question, right? Madua hitnascha, and here's an interesting question. Madua hitnascha Torah. Why does the Torah say, every Jew said Nasa v'nishma, right? Every Jew said Nasa v'nishma, right? So why does it say, at Kabbalah Torah al yadei b'nei Yisrael b'loshen rabim, Nasa v'nishma? Every Jew said Nasa v'nishma. Why didn't every Jew say, I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn it. But no, it was Nasa v'nishma. We said Nasa v'nishma in the plural. Not I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn and I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn, right? Hatshuva, the answer is, L'kachi, shekol Yehudi, every Jew, kibel al atzmo, shtei hitchayviyut nifrodot, accepted upon himself and herself two different responsibilities. Two Kabbalahs were made at that moment. Milvad ha'hitchayvut ha'yishit, aside from the personal commitment, shekibel kol echad ve'echad al atzmo, which every Jew accepted upon himself, lishmor, to keep, ulekayim et mitzvot Torah, to keep and to do the mitzvahs of the Torah. Kiblu al atzman also, Am Yisrael, gam et arvut hadadit. They accepted upon themselves the unity, the arvus, that Kol Yisrael are ravim zebezeh, the responsibility of every Jew to every other Jew. Ves hachova lidog, and the obligation to worry. Sheka'uma yishmeru kol klal Yisrael et HaTorah, that all of klal Yisrael should keep the Torah. The fact that I'm keeping, and there's so many Jews that are not, that's my responsibility. I have to go to war. Kabbalat Torah lo hitstam tzema l'tchumo ha'ishi shel kol echad ve'echad mikabla eli yotzra b'ma'arechet shel mechuyavot achrayut hadadit. But it's not only a personal thing that I have to do Torah, that I have to worry about Klal Yisrael also. Hamatanot shenatnu hamalachim, the presents that the malachim gave every Jew, miatzragot et shnei hebatim halalu, is about this. Shal Kabbalas HaTorah. Hakeser miatzeg et kabalato ha'ishit. The crown is my own individual crown. You know, like the kid in school gets, Father Abba of the week or something for Shabbos, and he's got a crown, right? So that I take care of, I'm doing the right thing for myself. Shall kol adam lishmor mitzvot Torah, to keep the mitzvahs. Ve'ilu hacherev, but the sword, miatzeged as hakabola hanosefet, is something else, another obligation. Hatoavet miitanu, which demands of us, lehilachem, to go to war, leman hamshichiyuta shel moreshet haTorah leklal ha'umah l'dor raboim, for the whole of Klal Yisrael and for the future generation of Klal Yisrael. We have to fight a battle. That's so we have to use the sword for that. That's what the sword represents. Okay. Okay. The third piece here is that once again from the Sefer Chamim b'Motzei Shabbos, from the Tol and the Rebbe, which is a collection of drushes that he gave at Malava Malka. And that's why it's called hot, warm food, a good menu for Motzei Shabbos, right? Okay. So he starts off by saying, kvar, we don't really need this, but kvar hinhagnu alpi min hagei kadmonim. We always, what I do is what our ancestors always did. Lilmod b'Motzei Shabbos Kodesh eza limud min parsha shekara b'Torah kedusha. The meaning of Klal Yisrael is to sit down in a Malava Malka and say over a vort from that parsha, right? Don't go to the next parsha. Let's talk about this parsha, right? He's not going to ask a question why. It's just an introduction. Ulekaimo b'sheshet yemei ha'maisa, and it should be with us for the next 6 days, right? Which is a mouthful of a statement. In other words, the Shabbos, we say, we don't have names, like the Ramban says, we don't have names for the days of the week, right? That's a foreign concept. The official names for the Jewish people of the days of the week are Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, right? But it's Yom Rishon l'Shabbos, Yom Sheni l'Shabbos, Yom Sheni l'Shabbos. What's that all about? Because it's one day. Yom Rishon is the first day from Shabbos, so that the kedusha of that Shabbos should stay with me, and it's also the kedusha of the next, in the anticipation of the next Shabbos, right? It's both Shabbosim, right? That every single day the Ramban says an obligation to remember Shabbos. Okay, so that's what he wants to say. So he's actually saying so that the kedusha of the Shabbos we just kept should linger with us. Now this is an idea, by the way, which I think I'm going to incorporate in the Shabbos Agorel Drosha. But that's for another discussion. Okay, I've just been busy with that this week. Okay, so here's my vort. Here's my vort. He says, the parsha ksiv. It says in the parsha din arba v'chamisha. It's changing gears completely. What's the din of arba v'chamisha? The din of 4 and 5. What is that din? Ki yignov ish. If a person steals shor oseh. If a person steals a calf, an ox, or a sheep, utvacho, and he shechs it, or machra, and he sells it, chamisha bakar yishalem tachat ashor, he has to pay 5 when he's caught. He has to pay 5 calves for the calf, va'arba tzon tachat haseh, and 4 sheep for the sheep, right? Now Rashi gives 2 answers, reasons why, but here's the first one he's going to deal with. Rashi hevi drashas chazal, it's a Gemara in Bava Kama. Amar Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Chas hamakom al kvodan shel briut. God is concerned for human dignity, the covet of a person, right? Shor sheholech beraglav. When you steal a shor, it's going on its own. You don't have to be embarrassed. Just carry it. Just pull it with you on a rope. V'lo nit bazebo haganav. So the ganav is not going to be embarrassed, right? Linoso al ktefav. He doesn't have to, right? But to put on his shoulders. So he pays mishalem chamisha. He has to pay more. He has to pay 5 times the value of the cow that he stole and ate, right? Seh, the sheep, shenoso al ktefav. You steal a sheep, you put it on your shoulders, like a mink stole, and you run with it, right? Mishalem arba. You only have to pay the value of 4 sheep, right? Hoil v'nit bazebo, because it was embarrassing for him, right? So he's going to ask an obvious question, right? Well, the chura dvarim temuimo. This is ridiculous, right? Hello, kara Iri. The pasuk is going, but ganav, sheganav shor mechatze chaber. The guy went in to somebody else's corral, somebody else, and he stole from him. Utvacho, and he shechted it. Omochro, and he either ate it or he sold it, right? The lamet strichim lachush lechodo. We have to worry about the covet of this ganav. He doesn't care about his own covet, right? Someone who doesn't care about hasn't got his own self, someone who doesn't have self-respect, we don't have to have respect for them, right? The Gemara says, the Gemara in Tainus, excuse me. There's no comparison between someone who embarrasses himself, lemit bayesh me'acherim, and someone who was embarrassed by someone else, right? There's a tremendous difference, right? Ume'achar shehu bayesh atzmo, he embarrassed himself. Ma lana lachush lekvodo. What do I have to worry about? I have to worry about his covet. Second column. V'shem yesh lomar b'zeh. I'm going to suggest an answer based on something I saw from the Sfas Emes, he says, the great Sfas Emes, Ger Rebbe. Al pi hachidish mufla shekasav harav kodesh Sfas Emes, zechuto yagein aleinu, right? I'm going to share with you something from the Sfas Emes, and I think this will answer our question, right? B'ha she'amar b'gemara, it's a Gemara in Psachim, amar lahu, Kol masha amar lecha bal habayit asay chutz mitzay. You ever heard of that? I think you did. It's a Gemara. When you're at somebody's house, Kol masha amar bal habayit amar lech bal habayit asay chutz mitzay. You have to do everything. It's his house. You have to do everything he tells you to do except leave. If he says leave, the Gemara says you don't have to listen to him. He doesn't have a right to throw you out of his house, right? That's the Gemara, right? Okay. So this is what the Sfas Emes says. An interesting thing. He doesn't understand. It says Yesh Lamar. I want to suggest Shetiknu Kain. When was this established? When was this? When was this? Obviously, when was this established? When was the great tragic moment in Jewish history when one Jew threw another Jew out of his house, which led to the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, right? So he says, no question. Is Yesh Lamar Shetiknu? It's a Gemara. Shetiknu Kain Achar HaMaisa de Bar Kamsa. It's after the Maisa of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, right? In Perak HaNizak and in Gemara and Gittin. She'ira Kilkul Al Yedezeh. What happened? Shehotziu came from this whole idea, this whole domino effect from this terrible thing. Shenechrav Beit Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, right? Ulechein Amru Shebiyad HaOreach Shelo Lishmo Latzeit Lefamim. So now we say that at that point the guest doesn't have to listen. Don't listen, because it's gonna, if you go out, if his throwing you out is going to be fulfilled, it's going to create terrible tragedy for him personally, and maybe even for Klal Yisrael, like by Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Lefamim k'sheyelo mizeh busha gedola. But it's very embarrassing, right? Very embarrassing to be thrown out, right? Ulechein. So therefore, he says, Yesh she'ein gorsen chutz mitzay. Some people have the girsa that all the Gemara really said was, originally the saying was, Kol masha bal habayit omer l'chaseh. Everything that Baal Habas says to you to do, you have to do. Shekol masha omer lecha hu klal b'fnei atzmo. It's a separate statement, right? In other words, you have to listen. It's his house, right? That was a statement. But achar kach, but after this tragic Maisa, Tanai heitilu bo Tanai chutz mitzay. Chazal added on this statement. Whereas always it was everything. Etiquette is you're in your person's house. You don't do it your way. You do it his way. You know. I just remember, it doesn't go back 100 years. When I was in Baltimore, we were in Kollel, in Yeshiva, so we invited someone to eat with us Friday night, and this was a fellow who was, they were really new Balei Tshuva. Anyway, there was a bakery, there were two bakeries in town. One of the bakeries, some people had a question on. I had challah from that bakery. So he asked me, where do you buy your challahs? I invited from I told him, do you mind if I bring my own challahs? Right? So he brought his own challahs. Not only did he bring his own challahs, he was very careful with the crumbs on the table. Now, I have to tell you, this fellow today is a wonderful person. He's grown tremendously, and I'm sure he wouldn't do it again, right? Whatever. But anyway, that's kind of thing, you know. Right? This is what you have to do. What your balabais says to do, right? Okay, you know, like the chal, don't come. You know, I have another engagement, whatever, right? Okay, just giving you a silly example, but right, but you understand. That's etiquette. Hainu shavadai shabalabayit yesh bekocho ligrom ba'orach gam letzeit min habayit. We're sure that the balabas has a right to say leave. You know, you came in with dirty shoes. You know, you messed up my carpet. Leave. He does have the right to say it. The kol mashiyomer lecha balabais say afilu say. He has a right to do it. Kihu baalim b'bayit hazeh. He's the balabas. V'adam oser davar shelo al chavero. I can do that. Aval, but we don't do it. Generally, it's just not. It's not nimus, right? Aval achar hachorva did not peak mine, but after the churban that took place because of it, shenechrav habayit mishum ma'isa davar kamsa shehotzi haorach lachutz ubayeshuhu berabim, because he threw him out and because he embarrassed him. Tiknu chachmei ador letaken apirza. So now we cannot let this happen again. Ve'ikru koach balabayis mibeito. Right? Akru koach balabayis mibeito. And they took away the power of a balabayit to throw somebody out of his house. You can't do it anymore, right? This is new, right? Amru kol masha yomer lecha balabayit asay, chutz mi say. So now we understand how he answered the question about the shor v'seh, the 4 and the 5. Okay, very good. Thank you all.